All right.
Grandma's out there. No, that's where they're from. You'll laugh at me.
Peter Brody.
Hi, Peter. On radio was there.
Listens all the time. He says, I never do always sit on camera going years and so now I got to make sure. Exactly. No.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order.
Right.
Start off with a roll call vote. Okey-dokey. Or roll call attendance.
Delaware County, Joe Cazzola. Is Joe working? School, same difference. Ryan Handel is excused. Pat Delameter is excused. Maggie Wilson?
Here.
Okay, Fulton County, Maggie Houghton. Not here, excused working. Country Suite,
Yes.
Jack Farquhar.
Here.
Mike Tracy.
Here.
Joyce is excused, regrettably not feeling well. Feeling better this afternoon. Phil Malidi present. Avis Warner.
Here.
Gary Wicks is excused, threw his back out. Montgomery County, Tom Pasquarelli.
Here.
Nikki Swartz. Here. Trish Green is excused. Tony Agresta is excused. Otsego County, Sid Chase is excused. He's down with the flu. Got a hold of me. Beth McGowan.
Here.
Dr. Markowitz. Working without a doubt. Tim Foster.
Here.
Rich Kirschman.
Here.
Schoharie County, Ed Brandt.
There.
Bill Beavers.
Here.
Ed Hillenbrand is excused. Joe Lutz.
Here.
Dr. Lutz, excuse me. Mark Zeke.
Present.
Lou Jones.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Leinhardt.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
All right, perfect. Everybody should have received the minutes of the January 18th meeting. Anybody have any corrections, additions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Country? Second? Mickey, Rich? Anyone?
I'm the who?
You have
Rich.
Mickey or Rich?
Rich, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay. Introduction of guests.
Introduction of guests. We have John Wilcox from ASFC.
So
Or is he gone?
He had to go. Have
He's
Janine
gone, had to go.
Hasselhoff instead.
Okay.
like him, right?
We've got
Sure.
Janine Hasselhoff from ASFC, Jill Dunham from GAVAC, John McMillan from GAVAC, Joe Farrell from the dark side. Okay. Deb Cuffs and Dean Romano from Remo. Welcome indeed. Sam Parrish from JVAC. Chuck Caruso from JVAC. Did I leave anybody out? It was unintentional if I did. Oh, Kathy Simons. I'm sorry. Kathy Simons from Wells. Kathy, you were out of my sight line here. Okay, sorry about that. Those are our guests. Welcome one and all.
Correspondence. Everybody should have received a copy of the correspondence. If there's any questions, certainly you can see Phil. Chairman's report. I really don't have a report. We'll get into some of the stuff that I brought up last month in committee reports. We're continuing to hopefully make some progress on some different things that the state wants and get things in order and just get familiar with what we currently have, as most of us really don't know how much work Phil and Joyce really do up in Speculator. Kind of off the beaten path a little bit.
Thank God for computers.
So we'll go right to the Secretary's report.
Okie dokie. Once again, I ask that you check the correspondence log because we have a lot of good information in the correspondence log. Some of it is just routine, the really routine correspondence I don't put in the log, such as bills paid, etc. But I try to keep everybody advised of the flow of information that goes in and out of our little enclave. The Schoharie County Critical Care Team has given us an application to change their EPCR software provider to EMS charts. And looking at the application, Tom and I have looked at it. Ed Brandt presented it to us. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve that and send that on to the state for their final approval. So I'll make that in the form of a motion. We approve their transfer to EMS charts.
Second? Anyone?
Davis?
You got it. Okay. Any discussion? This is just a transfer?
Just a transfer.
Transfer of software vendor?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect.
While we're talking about software, during the last week of January, you may have seen the steam coming out of the Village of Speculator. The producers of the software used to manage our regional website. That is Adobe Dreamweaver CS3. They deactivated their earlier version, Adobe did, their earlier version of the software, and then they closed their reactivation drivers, which locked us out beautifully, which made it necessary for us to acquire Dreamweaver CS6, if that's the, or CS, I guess, CS6, and then came CS. Anyway, the latest version of Dreamweaver, and utilizing the latest version has had decidedly mixed results with our website. We are not able to establish new hyperlinks. So a temporary fix is currently being used, and some of our hyperlinks are still not working. The ones that were in before the deactivation, they're working fine, but new ones are not. And unfortunately, that means some course flyers and so forth are not able to be accessed. But we got a temporary fix in place with our IT guys' help, and we're developing a new website management tool. That's the upside of the whole thing. And I'll have more news on it, about it next month. Next month it should be up and running, using Google as our provider, which apparently we can do free of charge since we're a nonprofit organization. So I'll have more to tell you about that. But if you try to hook up on a link and it's not working, blame Adobe, please. I'm only the messenger. Okay, the AAREMS annual audit report was forwarded to all members yesterday, Valentine's Day. That's kind of a Freudian thing. But the audit report was very positive if you haven't had a chance to read it. They found no material weaknesses, and they said we were very cooperative while they were doing their audit. Actually, very cooperative includes paying their bill, which costs us about $9,000 a year for the annual audits. The state does not require us to have, this is interesting, they don't require us to have an annual audit because we don't get that much money from them, and we don't get any money from the feds. However, the Grants Gateway Portal, which is part of the contract unit of the Department of Health, they do require us to have an annual audit. So we have it. We're current with all documents needed to maintain our pre-qualified status in the DOH Grants Gateway Portal. This enables us to keep on receiving contract payments. We update the portal site every year at this time as requested by the Department of Health, and we've never been removed from pre-qualified since it was first granted to us. Earlier, actually late in January, I was approached by some folks from an online teaching site called EMS One Academy. Anybody here familiar with it? Okay. They gave me a 30-day free demo period to explore it and to see if it would be practical to bring the information before our region. Not that the region would adopt it, but that agencies in the region might be interested. Several other regional councils in the state have already adopted it or publicized it among their agencies. They provide CME courses. They also provide core content. And New York State is now allowing core content with prior approval, core content to be done online, fully online. I spoke with Gene Myers about this because I wasn't familiar with EMS One Academy, and he said yes, they're a legitimate organization. The state, of course, doesn't recommend one organization over another, but they're one of several that providing this online availability of CMEs and core content, and he said that they are legitimate and they're doing business elsewhere in the state, and they're just trying to expand their business base. So I will keep you fully informed. I've had several EMTs test market, test out the software, and they say it's very user-friendly. The one thing that they don't do, they being EMS One Academy, the one thing they don't do is have one page just devoted to New York State requirements for core content. That would be extremely helpful if they had that. I'm going to make that recommendation to them. The cost is very minimal, really. If an agency signs up with them, I believe it's $38 per certified member of the agency per year. That's really not very expensive. Anyway, we're under no mandate to do anything about it except take a look at it, and I will have more for you next month on it. Right now, if John Jones or Mary Smith sits down at the computer and logs in and uses the password they gave me for the month's demonstration and takes a 1-hour CME, they don't really get credit for it unless an instructor happens to be in the room while they're doing the training. And if they crank out a certificate, the certificate says this 1-hour CME has been awarded to EMS February demo. That's how they save their product and market it, I suppose. But I'll have more to tell you about it next month. I spoke with Tony Agresta after being approached by EMS1, and I said, I know Amsterdam Fire Department is doing everything online now, and as far as recertification stuff, they use an outfit called Target Solutions, which I'm also not familiar with, but I'm going to get a hold of them and ask for a demo from them, which I'm sure they'll be glad to give me on behalf of the region, and I will report on that also. This may be the way of the future for training. It certainly is convenient. As one of my EMTs said to me the other day up in Speculator, he said the drawback as he sees it is that you don't have the personal contact with the instructor. And that is a big plus, having personal contact with an instructor when you're taking training. The other side is the other plus side, of course, is the convenience of the thing. We'll see. I just wanted to report to you that it's ongoing, no cost or obligation, and we'll see what happens with it.
In using that, I've used Target Solutions with the fire department. The actual lectures are fairly good. The downfall is you have no hands-on or practical experience with it at all. There's nothing that you have to demonstrate. So while you learn all of this stuff, it doesn't teach you how to, or you can't demonstrate how to put a CPAP on properly or how to do anything. So there's no practical skills portion. So to use it as your entire research package, to me, doesn't seem practical.
Now, can you? I did not ask Ian Myers this question, but can you? Let's say agency A signs up and wants to do their stuff online. Can they also do it with an instructor present if they choose to?
They can. They can. You have the option. It's just letting the state know that there's they have to approve you going 100% online.
Right, okay.
But that doesn't forbid you from not using instructors. And certainly on the ALS side of things, you have to still provide an ACLS card and you still have to provide a BLS card. So those courses are second to that anyway. So you do have to do those two courses.
I know that EMS1 Academy will you can take an ACLS refresher, you can take an EBOC on them, but again, you'd have to do the hands-on elsewhere, obviously, have to do it elsewhere. We'll have more to say about it, and if you have any questions, please ask me and I'll pass on the questions. The fellow who contacted us from EMS1 Academy was very, very cooperative, and said that he would welcome any feedback on what we thought the software was like.
What's his name, Jim?
No, Al Zinkowski. We have one notice of enforcement action. Gentleman from East Islip, New York, suspended for 18 months, effective 12/18/17. First 3 months of actual suspension, remaining 15 months stayed. Must provide alcohol evaluation within 3 months and comply with recommendations, if any. He was the only notice of enforcement action we had, and that, sir, is my report.
All right. All right, treasurers.
All right. On January the 18th, we received a direct deposit of $8571.19, which is a DOH payment for the council quarterly voucher that was submitted on January 2nd. On January 22nd, we received a direct deposit of $44,861.83 for our program agency contract. This was short $969.34 of the amount we had vouchered on January 2nd. On January 22nd, having heard nothing further, I inquired about this to Rich Brandt at DOH. And on February 9th, Tom Behana replied. Tom was with the Bureau, went to the Controller's office, and now is back with the Bureau. He advised the matter would be resolved as part of the next quarterly program agency payment. Apparently it's a matter of coding and how the contracts are submitted to the Controller's office from the Bureau. Our request for payment, or claim for payment was okay, but somehow or other the coding resulted in a 969.34 shortfall. We'll make that up the next time around. We've been requested also to put our quarterly payment in. Normally we put it in the end of March. We've been requested to put it in the 1st of March this year with any overage. In other words, we make an estimated payment or an estimated claim any overage will be settled the following quarter. They do that because the state fiscal year begins April 1st, and they don't want to run out of money. At least they don't want to run out of money on paper. They want to be able to handle all the claims of payment by the middle of March this quarter. And a printed report of the cash flow and balance sheet was distributed to all the members. Tom and Lou and Jack received a detailed cash flow balance sheet and register reports, plus copies of canceled checks as per the review arrangements agreed on with our auditors. And their report is?
Everything was complete and accurate.
Okay.
All right.
Question, Mr. Chairman? I see we have $14,502.88 in CON account. I was just curious about the origin of that. Is that money paid in
Yes,
from previous CONs?
That's the fees from the CONs and TOAs. Yeah.
Okay.
We're free to use that any way we want. For convenience sake in paying out, I have a separate checking account.
I think that's a good idea, yeah. Okay.
But we're free to take that money and transfer it into our general savings if we wish.
Okay, yeah, it just sort of caught my eye, and I was just
Yeah.
curious about it.
It's
Obviously, everybody received a copy of the audit, or anybody that Phil had emailed it to.
all the members.
Certainly, the executive committee also saw the management letter that makes any recommendations on our accounting practices and what we could be doing different, and any recommendations that they have. And I am happy to say that the auditors had no recommendations for us to improve on during this. So that was a nice relief. So with that being said, I'll take a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Abstain?
I will abstain at least staff member.
Committee reports, regional program update.
Nothing to report, sir.
Training.
Training committee met today and reviewed the RSI document. I'll forward the changes that we made to Joyce for incorporation so that the document can be distributed and voted on by REMAC at the next month's REMAC meeting. The committee and Joyce are also looking for ideas for teaching for the first weekend in June CIU, course instructor update.
Would you want to say, Beth, would you want to say just a word about the additional hours for the CIU now?
It's gone from 6 to 8 to do your update, and it was found out by chance by people who were doing submitting their paperwork. Phil is going to clarify with Liz Donnelly how that needs to be parsed out.
If they have that answer. Transportation and standards.
Transportation and standards, I will, in the minutes, I will repeat once again the narrative for the Wells Ambulance TOA, just to keep everybody current on it. There has been no movement on that since our last meeting. Wells Fire, no longer the Wells Fire Department, the Wells Ambulance Corps, Ambulance Corps Incorporated has handed the CON paperwork, the TOA paperwork over to their town attorney for clarification, because Dana Jonas keeps coming back with necessary updates to the application. In any event, nothing further. On December 6th, we had received a letter from MOVAC, which the request was made for us to revisit and revise the wording for primary operating territory that was established in May last year, and we've heard nothing further on that either. I advised them, MOVAC, that we did not have the authority to make any changes unilaterally, and I copied Dan Clayton at DOH about this, and so far nobody has responded about it. That's all I have, sir.
All right. Last month we formed a policy committee to review the AAREMS policies. Beth is the chair of that committee, so I will ask.
If I had known what this was going to entail, I think I would have said no, but I'm probably a good person for this because I tend to be a bit OCD. The committee itself has not met, but I have tried to put together a structure by which we can identify, review, update, remove, and add new policies to 3 different areas. Medical, including REMAC and collaborative protocols, EMS program agency, and REMSCO. And I just kind of did a brain download into a document that gives us some structure, and I'm going to ask the committee members to forward to me, forward this to all the committee members, forward to me policies that they think should be in the different areas, and given a copy to Phil so that he can produce already existing policies to me so that they can go through the identify, review, update, remove, new process. This is going to be something that is going to be probably a long-standing committee, because this is a lot of information that's going to have to be taken in little chunks.
I think we will find that we have policies, many policies in place, but they're scattered here and there. And I did forward to Beth at her request, and I thought it was an excellent idea, even if she hadn't requested it, but she did, the deliverables reporting tool for the regional council and also the program agency. It's an excellent reporting tool. It's new, just last year. Mike Taylor and some of the other folks in the office there worked on it, and they did I think, a fantastic job. It needs a little fine-tuning itself because it's a little redundant right now. However, it's a lot easier to use than all previous reporting tools, quarterly reporting tools, and it involves all kinds of attachments from the particular program agencies or the particular councils. And a number of those attachments are policies and procedures. So I think we'll find there's a lot of stuff scattered around there that we just need to kind of coalesce a little bit. And I said to Beth, I said the handout she showed me with the sample employee policies would do justice to General Motors. I think it's wonderful.
It's quite a list.
Well, and what I did is I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. And I have contacts into SREMS and CNY. And I took their policies and their employee handbooks and put the items, from the table of contents from their employee handbooks into the outline here so that we could make sure that we had addressed those. So, I mean, they're not coming from General Motors, they're coming from like agencies.
This is kind of interesting because way back in the day, and Mark will remember it very well indeed, back in 1985, our current employee policies, which do exist, they're extraordinarily rudimentary, they were the Broome County policies, if you remember, because we were tied at the hip with Susquehanna once upon a time. We split off in 1990, became our own council and our own program agency. But back in the day, the Broome County employment policies could be written on 3 or 4 8.5 by 11 pages. It was very rudimentary, and now it is, like I said, General Motors.
There's a lot more requirements. I think this is going to be a sifting and sorting process, and see what we have and what we don't have and what we need, and
Excellent.
and come up with a pruned list, I guess.
That's great.
So that's good.
Oh,
and I think it's a good time to do it. So.
I truly commend Beth for doing this legwork on it, because it's, as she said, it's an extraordinary amount of information. You know, when you ask for policies and procedures from some of our colleagues elsewhere, it's an extraordinary amount of information to put together and to digest, to wrap itself around.
Well, just looking at our company policies and procedures, which is, I don't know, about that thick,
Right.
It's astounding.
It's amazing that in 1985, the employment policy for Broome County was just a few pages long, and I think probably Mark's the only one in the room that might remember that.
This is SREM's current. This is SREM's current employee handbook. So, I mean, I couldn't get CNY to give theirs to me. They did it through paychecks. They paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they do give me their table of contents. And Rural Metro is going to share some stuff, and GAVAC's going to share some stuff, and obviously I have CMT, and we will sift through it and sort through it. But it's the first thing I need is the committee or anyone to send to me what policies you think we should have.
Right,
And then right now we're in the identification stage.
right, right.
I think that this is going to be
D.
a true standing committee, not just something that's going to tackle this project. I think that policies and procedures need to be constantly evaluated, looked at, and even in the discussions, you know, about the money that Mark had just asked about. We have policies in place on what we can do with that, and should we transfer it and all that. Just as things come up, I think that this committee has got to take those things and look and see how we're supposed to do things. Maybe we're going to be overkill compared to other program agencies and regional councils. I don't know, but at least I know that our ducks are in a row, and I think that that's the most important thing.
It's interesting.
Well, certainly it was a lot less formal back in 1985 and further back. But it isn't, from now forward, it isn't going to get any less complicated.
Right.
So.
Well said. Well said. Interestingly enough, by the way, I should mention that our auditors already had a conference with me about the CON account versus the general fund, and I explained to them how it was handled, and my explanation passed muster with them. They had no issue with the way we're doing things with it right now.
Well, and for example, I know that because I'm with Onion, and Mark is on the bylaws committee for Onion, that several years ago, the state put out new rules about bylaws for 501c3s.
Right.
And I want to make sure that we are current with those as well. So that's that's a different piece to grab at some point and look at as well. And I tried to put down other things that we need to look at in terms of business associate agreements, cyber liability, mission statement, core sponsor policies, job descriptions, bylaws being compliant, continuation of business plans. There's just a lot of stuff that we need to draw out or formulate.
Right.
Yeah, I've been chairing the Onion Bylaws Committee for quite a while, and what Onion didn't know was that I think it was about 3 years ago or so, there was a piece of legislation that required certain standards for 501c3 nonprofit organizations to comply with in their bylaws. And so we were hooked up with a association management firm at the time who knew about that. And so we had just a total revision of our bylaws. And I can use that for a model. I get 3 or 4 calls a day from people I don't know, and it's all solicitation. And we want to talk about your credit card and all that kind of stuff. But
So, Phil, you're going to work with
anyway,
getting this stuff to Beth,
yeah,
what we currently have?
Oh yes, absolutely. As she requested, I will see if it's available and yank it together. Like I said, I think we're going to find out that we've got a lot of this in our computer currently, possibly under slightly different headings.
right.
We will determine that.
Yeah, and I'll start a big notebook and start collating and try to set it up along the structure that I've got in this document that I gave to you guys, and as I said, I have very good relationships with a couple other regions, and one that we know that we need to do is conflict of interest forms have to be done yearly, and we haven't done those. Fortunately, Mike Cox from SREMS forwarded his, I just called and said, could I have this? And he forwarded everything
Yeah, Mike
to me.
is really
So, I mean, there are other regions that I can pull from to get what we need.
great. And also, one thing that our auditors did mention casually to us a couple of years in a row, they said it might be nice to put a whistleblower policy in our bylaws.
Yeah, and there's a sample whistleblower policy
Excellent.
right here.
Excellent. Excellent. Like you said, if it's already been done, no sense reinventing it. Great.
All right, thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
State Council report, I don't have anything. We don't meet until May, unless anything's come through. REMAC didn't meet. Doc, do you have anything?
No, nothing to report other than Mark, can you explain to our viewers why onions have bylaws?
Onion has bylaws?
Right, onions.
Onions have bylaws? Oh, yes. Well, we're not onion farmers. No, we're
We're men-
the United New York Ambulance Network, UNYAN. So that's fine.
It's for the record.
All right, county report.
We have to go through that song and dance every time we go see a legislator somewhere. It's like, no, we're not farmers.
County reports, Delaware. Nothing. Otsego.
Business as usual.
Schoharie.
Same here.
Montgomery. Only thing we have is some training opportunities. The county itself asked us to do a CFR course that starts, I think, next month,
March 5th.
March 5th. And if anyone's interested, they can contact either us or emergency management and get on that list. Fulton.
Nothing new.
Hamilton.
I could just report, because I'm involved with it, the EMT class in speculative is going very nicely. We have a full class, what would constitute nothing else, 6 students is a full class for us. We're very happy to have it.
Old business.